8:36, it's Wake Up Memphis on the Mighty 990, FM 107.9, AM 990. We are streaming all the time at mighty990.com. So glad you could join us. And we're having a big day here. And make sure you go to toddstarnes.com. That's toddstarnes.com. Check out the Toddcast, a great interview with Bill O'Reilly yesterday. Bill's got a new book out. Very exciting. Make sure you check that out at toddstarnes.com. Joining us now on our newsmaker line is State Senator Brian Kelsey, fresh off the end of the legislative session, burning some midnight oil, I'm sure. Senator, thank you for getting up with us early this morning and joining us. How are you, sir?
Thank you very much. Yeah, I got back home after midnight, but glad to be back in Shelby County.
Well, it's good to have you here. And, of course, one of the headlines from last night, and we spoke with State Rep Mark White earlier in the week about the bill coming out of the House for the banning critical race theory. I guess it got reconciled and some amendments last night, and the General Assembly passed that. Can you tell us what happened yesterday and what's in this bill?
Yes, I was proud to author the conference committee report that was ultimately adopted and became law, and we added some important principles that we believe in our Constitution and in our Declaration of Independence, and that we don't believe in critical race theory. Like most bad ideas in America, critical race theory actually began in our nation's liberal law schools, one of which I attended. So I was subjected to this nonsense and indoctrinated with critical race theory for a whole year of my life, and I can tell you we do not want it in our public schools.
Well, let me ask you this, State Senator, as a young impressionable man that was going through that coursework, and you're exposed to that, for the first time, and not being the state senator that you are now, what were your thoughts when you were hearing that going through school?
Well, I certainly knew that it was nonsense, but they were not giving me the tools to use to actually to explain why it was nonsense. But I thankfully have those now, and I can tell you it's antithetical to everything we hold dear as Americans. These critical race theory adherents, they believe that the rule of law is a lie, that they believe that our Constitution is a lie, and they believe that the timeless doctrines of equality and justice under the law that we hold dear, they believe that those do not exist. And trust me, we want to keep it out of our schools.
I found the constant muddling of the terms equality and equity, and the beautiful thing about equality is that here in America, when you are born, you have certain God-given rights, and you can be as magnificent or whatever you want to be. You have an equal opportunity to overcome, and we have that social mobility, which is such a blessing. Equity basically wants to tear down those who have succeeded just so that everybody else is kind of on a level playing field. And critical race theory plays a big role in that, right?
That's exactly right. I'll give you two examples here. The first one that we all know about Martin Luther King Jr., when he gave his I Have a Dream speech, he said that I have a dream that my 4 little children will one day live in a nation, where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. Well, critical race theorists, they believe that that's a lie. They believe that timeless principle that he's drawing upon from our Declaration of Independence is not true, and that all of that is a lie. And so what do they end up with? They end up with anti-historical projects like the 1619 Project. Yes. That was endorsed by the liberal New York Times, and they have to rewrite history. So they say if the Declaration of Independence doesn't exist, and if it's all a lie, then 1776 was not our nation's birth date. So they have to go back and make up a new one, and that's where they seize upon this 1619 date as the date that the first slaves were brought to America. And they say, well, they would say that any of us can adhere to what Martin Luther King Jr. set out, and there's no way that any of us can get beyond our own skin color. And this is why we had to ban this, and I'm just so proud of our state for banning it from our public schools last night.
And I want to address the opponents on this. State Senator Brian Kelsey joins us this morning. There are opponents that say that it erases slavery and other abominations from our nation's history. But I want to hear in your words, because I read this, and it seems like it's very clear that critical race theory has the problems with critical race theory are there, but the bill itself bans critical race theory, but it does not ban the discussion about how the United States has had its problems and how we've been able to work through and make this a more perfect union, that it acknowledges slavery, talks about that, and in fact, continues to encourage discussion to make this a more perfect union.
That's exactly right. It's typical liberal rewriting of what took place yesterday, and obviously it's an unfortunate part of American history that racism does play, and that
Yeah.
has to be a part of the story that we tell for sure. But the critical race theorists believe that it's the only part of American history, and that's where they're just plain wrong. So we can have discussions about racism and about how to overcome it without indoctrinating our children that it simply cannot be overcome.
Which students does this impact, and when would this go into law?
Well, it will start with our upcoming school year in August of this year, and it will impact every student in all of our public schools here in Tennessee. So these are, again, they're very simple principles that we're banning. We're banning that you cannot promote that one race is inherently superior to another. So again, it's the opposite of what our opponents are saying. In fact, what we're saying is we're not going to teach racism in our schools.
And I know you're a man of faith, Senator Kelsey. And when I hear these things, that there should be some sort of self-loathing by a particular gender or a particular race, well, we were all created by one creator, by one God. And to say that that creator or that God of mine did not do a good job or a subpar job or was not adequate is an insult to my God. That my God made me, made everybody perfectly in the image that they were meant to be, that we are all created equally and we're to be loved as he loves us.
And that's why I felt it was so important to put those words actually into this law that we passed, and I appreciated the House going along with that measure because those words from the Declaration of Independence are important. That we are all endowed by our Creator with certain inalienable rights, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And they're, again, as you said, it says in the Declaration they're endowed not by nothing, but they're endowed by our Creator, God.
Yeah, absolutely. And Senator, I know that you have a young child. I have a young child. Thank you for going to bat for sanity, for common sense, for the future of our kids, as this is something that, and it's probably not going to go away across the country. It's having to be taken down state by state, and very proud to say that I live in a state that has now done just that. State Senator Brian Kelsey, thank you. I know that you worked late yesterday. Thank you for carving out a few minutes for us, and we appreciate you and hope to talk to you again very, very soon. Get some good rest.
Thanks very much. Always glad to be on, Tim.
Thank you. All right, there's State Senator Brian Kelsey, critical race theory. That's a no-no come this August in schools, and they will have to be made accountable, and they will be made accountable for someone that goes against that. And congratulations to the General Assembly